like I know a lot of people who like they work towards placements, right? They don't have a solo career. They don't have like an artist that they work with regularly, but they're trying to get like placements in general with like all these different artists. That's a very common way to work, right? But if you don't like to do that though, like I don't like to do that as much. Believe me, I love getting a placement here and there. That's fun. That's only happened a few times for me. But each time it's been fun. Hasn't been a lot, but it's been fun. But if you're working in a lane that you don't like, I think my friend Cass could talk about this a little bit. He actually told me about this. He said like he was making this type of music which he likes, but he also wanted to do other things as well, other types of music as well. And if he's not doing both of those things and balancing those, it can be like really hard on your spirit, man, when you're making music that you don't like to make. So I think the same thing goes with like balancing, it's just about balance, right? And making sure you're doing the things that you like to do, because that's sustainable and that's what's going to give you a long career. You know, if you're not having fun, that's usually when you stop getting better. When you're having a lot of fun, that's when you're improving. So that's why I would say, so going back to the question, balancing working with people you trust versus taking advantage of exposure opportunities. I don't go for exposure opportunities unless they're dope. Like that being said, I've done such a good job thus far doing my favorite stuff and my favorite stuff only. Like I haven't done something that's outside of me. I feel like everything I've ever done, whether it's a record, just a fucking video of me playing piano on Instagram, or these streams, or the piano lessons I teach, whatever, I'm doing me all the time. And because of that, people know that. So I don't really get called. Maybe that's why they don't call me for those exposure opportunities. But yeah, I don't get called to do stuff that I wouldn't be interested, because they know, people who are familiar with me kind of know I'm gonna do me. Like I'm just gonna play the piano. It's gonna be jazzy. It's gonna be interesting. I'm not gonna make a pop record, right? I don't get called to do pop records, you know what I mean? So, and because of that, I have a lot of fun, and I feel like I'm always improving, you know? So I don't know if that principle works for everybody all the time. I do think early on in my career, yeah, maybe, but I don't know. I was really lucky. Things kind of worked out before I had to make that decision. But I think there's a balance. At the very least, there can be a balance between those two things. And I would say, like, work with people that you trust always, you know? Don't work with people you don't know and don't trust. It's a bad idea. I mean, unless like fucking Kanye hits you up, but like, obviously, but like if it's, you know, some rapper that you don't know and they're trying to get you to, I'd be like, what? No. Don't make 20 placement beats a day. Yeah, man. Dude, all the people who like get the illest placements, don't do that. You know what I mean? Like I look at my friend Ricky, for example, right? Like there's a lot of people out there who make really generic beats, right? They make like tight beats, and they try to get a placement by making a really broad sounding thing, right? This is like the Seth Godin argument I was talking about earlier, right? You make a really generalized sound, trap, just like a really general term to describe like a ton of different styles of music. But you know, you make a trap beat and it sounds like something you heard last week. You heard some like Travis Scott thing you heard recently or whatever. And there's a lot of guys who just make type beats like that. And then they're like, hey, why are none of these getting in place? And it's because you made a generic thing. You need to be specific. Do it your way. Like my friend Ricky Vieira, he makes trap beats that sound like nothing else, right? He made, back in the day, he made Mad City, right? You know that one. Yak, 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 yak. You know, okay. So you had to do it. And he just makes really, really creative, different, weirdo shit. And that's why he gets Kendrick placements. That's why he gets Drake placements. Not because he makes stuff that's generic, but because it's different and unique. And that's actually the way to be successful, I think. Be really specific. Specificity is a thing. Have a really specific, unique sound that no one else has. And then when people are making their record and they're like, man, I need like a classy like joint with like maybe some piano. Oh, I'll call Kiefer. You know, not that happens all the time. Happens very rarely. But that is why I've been used. When I have been used, it's been because of that. They're not like, oh, I need a really general, just like a regular old R&B track that just sounds kind of like that doesn't really happen. If you think about all the best producers ever, none of them were generic. You know, Timbaland was like different. You know, Pharrell was different. Kanye was different. Like if we're talking about like, I'm talking about like major producers, right? Like you don't get that role by, you know, being generic. You know, Metro Boomin when he came out, right? That was like holy fuck, right? It was just like holy shit. You know, Soundwave. You know, you don't get those big tracks by being generic. So do it your way, you know. Don't go for the exposure and the whatever generalized pop sound as you think is going to be, because that's actually not the way to be successful. That's just a weird misconception that's out there. People like, I'm making pop because I want to get more, I want more people to like it. So let's make this more mainstream and normal sounding, and we'll do. No, that's not the way to do it. Get weird. That's the way to do it. Again, it's the Seth Godin thing. If you want to have a massive brand, the key to having a massive brand is not to make a product that everyone will love. That sounds crazy. That sounds like the opposite of how it would work. But he makes a really good point. What he says is, be specific. Instead of thinking, I talked about this on the stream like 2 weeks ago, but I'll say it again. Instead of thinking, what's the maximum number of people that I can get to like this thing? Ask yourself, what's the minimum number of people I need to support my business? And let's make them as happy as fucking possible. That's the key, because if you look at every major brand that there's ever been, whether it's, let's talk about like huge companies like Apple or Disney or Google or Nike, they all did something extremely specific first, right? Like today, Disney sells fucking everything from sweatshirts to toys to movie tickets to fucking, you know, like shows and concert tickets and theme parks. Jesus, I have a Charlie horse on my foot. Charlie horse! Oh my God! Okay, I fixed it. Wow, I had a really bad Charlie horse for a second there, dude. I had to get off the camera for a second. Right? So they sell a million things today, but when they started out, it was this man who was a racist, but we'll get into that later. But he drew a mouse. He drew Mickey Mouse, and he put it on a boat, and he had a movie called Steamboat Willie where the mouse whistled. And he basically combined two technologies, animation and sound, right? Like they had early like talkie movies at that time. And that blew everyone's fucking mind. It was mind-blowing. And he started making kids movies and then branded it for children, and then it blew the fuck up, right? Like that was a very specific idea. Same thing with Apple. They said, hey, let's hook up a bitmap screen, like a little like TV screen, to a keyboard. And instead of like writing .exe after everything, we'll actually have an image of a desk. You know why it's called the desktop? Because originally it was an illustration of a desk. And that was the whole idea. Like you're on a screen, on a TV screen, is a picture of a desk with like a little like trash bin, and you had documents and folders and files. Some people don't even think about that. That's brilliant. That's fucking brilliant. Like a two-dimensional abstract representation of a desk that goes on a TV screen that you can, and you have a pointing device with a mouse. Hello, genius. Very specific though. Very, 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 very specific idea. And then now today they're selling fucking phones and watches and just like all kinds of really stupid shit, right? Apple. Okay, great. So, and they're gonna have a car soon, I think. What? All right. So that's the idea. Yo, Oliver Crosby, what's up, bro? We just talked the other day. So yeah, man, be specific. That's the key. Do your thing. Be specific, do your thing. Don't do a general thing. Don't try to appeal to the maximum number of people you can, because that's actually the way to make no one impressed with what you're doing. Even when you think about like really like artists that really blow up, like even if you think about artists who make like really generic pop music, like the people who really blow up, they're not doing it independently. They are coming from pre-existing massive record labels, right? They're coming from Warner, they're coming from Universal. If you think about people who make generic pop and blow up, they're not doing it from their bedroom, right? They're getting backing from these huge fucking massive companies, right? So the way to blow up, if you're not if you're not already Apple, if you're not already Sony, if you're not already Universal Music Publishing Group, whatever, don't be generic. Those are the only companies that can afford to do that because they've already established themselves as a brand. If you're starting out new, you need to disrupt, you need to be different. You need to, and the way to be different, don't try to be different, just be you. Just do your thing because you are different, you know? That's what I believe.